There are moments, rare and fleeting, when fiction doesn't just entertain us. It defines us not by telling us who we are, but by giving us the space to become who we might be. For millions of millennials, Halo was that moment. I was 8 years old when I first met the Chief. Not in the movie theater, not on the pages of a comic book, but in the flickering glow of a CRT television set that buzzed like a hive of static bees. My older brother had handed down his console, the bulky, monolithic Xbox, along with a copy of a game called Halo Combat Evolved. I remember the way the disc clicked into place. I remember the gentle hum of the startup screen. But most of all, I remember him. The green armor, the reflective visor, the absolute stillness. No facial expressions, no origin story monologues, and no name. Just presence. Master Chief wasn't flashy. He didn't crack jokes like Spider-Man or brood like Batman. He didn't have a real face, yet somehow he perfectly mirrored mine. And the moment that visor tilted toward the camera, before a single word was spoken, I was locked in. Not as a passive player, but as a participant in something much bigger than a game. I wasn't alone. To understand Master Chief's cultural gravity, we have to rewind. Not just to the launch of Halo in 2001, but to the world it landed in. It was the dawn of broadband. DSL routers were singing their high-pitched mating calls in living rooms across America. Napster had just been shut down. AIM away messages had become somewhat of a personality trait. The internet was no longer a novelty, it was becoming the air we breathed. Meanwhile, we were kids growing up in a landscape of contradictions. We were the you can be anything generation raised on participation trophies and Disney Channel optimism, but also the first to come of age in the shadow of 9/11 with its 24-hour news cycles, war footage, and creeping sense of unease. The heroes we'd grown up with, Superman, Mario, Simba, felt cartoonish in comparison to the real-life stakes we were beginning to perceive. We didn't want fantasy escapism, we wanted someone who could carry the weight. Someone who, like us, didn't have all the answers, but kept moving forward anyway. Enter Master Chief. On paper, there's nothing particularly groundbreaking about the Chief. He's a genetically enhanced super soldier in a futuristic armor bred by a shadowy military organization fighting off alien invaders. We've seen this archetype dozens of times before, but what Bungie did differently, what they brilliantly understood, was restraint. The Chief never took off his helmet, never cried, rarely even spoke. He didn't waste words because he didn't need them. That green shell wasn't hiding a character, it was the character. A mirror polished to a sheen. And when you're 11 years old, confused about who you're supposed to be, there's power in a character that lets you write your own story across his surface. You weren't just playing Master Chief, you became him. In hindsight, it's radical game design. Bungie resisted the temptation to fill in all the blanks. They made space for us to enter the character, to bring our own insecurities, hopes, and adolescent turmoil to the battlefield. While the world around us was chaotic, school shootings, foreign wars, family divorces, we could suit up, steady our aims, and become unstoppable, even if it was only just for a few hours. But this wasn't just a single-player campaign. The real revolution came when the multiplayer clicked online. For many of us, Halo wasn't just our first shooter, it was our first connection to strangers, to teammates, to the idea that someone on the other side of the headset was laughing just as hard, breathing just as heavy, living just as real. LAN parties became sacred rituals, Ethernet cables snaked through basements like veins pumping in digital internet adrenaline. We turned off the lights, we passed around cans of Mountain Dew, and we called our betrayals accidents even as we howled with laughter. Through Halo, we built our first online communities, fragile and beautiful. We discovered what it meant to cooperate, to compete, to lose with dignity and win with grace, sometimes. We weren't just playing matches, we were building our first identities. Halo arrived at a moment when we were still trying to define what growing up in a digital age even meant. We were analog kids migrating into a broadband world. The Chief became our compass. He wasn't chatty like Nathan Drake or quirky like Commander Shepard. He was stoic, grounded. He moved with purpose, refused to be distracted. And in a time when distraction was becoming a way of life, when MySpace, YouTube, and early memes pulled at our attention every second of the day, Master Chief was a model of focus, of duty. He was the one who answered the call again and again without complaint or ego, just resolve. Even now, over 2 decades later, that consistency still resonates. As millennials, we were promised one kind of future and handed another. We were told we'd thrive in a knowledge economy only to graduate into a recession. We watched housing prices skyrocket, wages stagnate, and the climate crisis accelerate. Our lives have been a series of pivots, of recalibrations, and quiet endurance. Sound familiar? That's the Master Chief. He doesn't have superpowers. He's not a god or a genius. He's a soldier, a survivor, a man with scars beneath the armor, and he keeps going, not because he wants to, but because someone has to. That quiet nobility hit different. It still does. No discussion of Halo would be complete without discussing the music. The Gregorian chants, the swelling orchestras, the ambient tension that made every firefight feel like a moral crossroads. The sound of Halo became the emotional bedrock of our childhoods. Composer Martin O'Donnell once said that the soundtrack was designed to make you feel both awe and intimacy. And it did, whether we were careening through New Mombasa in a warthog or pausing at a cliff's edge to watch the sun set over a destroyed world. The music whispered something we didn't yet have the words for. You are small. Your choices matter. Years later, we returned to the Master Chief collection, not just to relive the glory days, but to reconnect with a piece of ourselves. The part that still believed in clear missions, in right and wrong, in heroic ideals unmarred by cynicism. As adults, we now know life is messier, that heroes fall, that systems fail. But we still boot up the game, because that digital green armor, it still fits. You might think that this is just a love letter to a video game, but it's more than that. This is an exploration of how a faceless soldier became the face of a generation, how a sci-fi shooter gave us language for grief, friendship, courage, and endurance, how, in Master Chief's silence, we found our voice. So welcome. Whether you grew up charging through Blood Gulch, or you've only just recently heard the whispers of the legend, this story is for you. This is the story of becoming the Chief.